Hello, now I'm going to discuss how I did the very first opening shot that has a camera move. So what I'm going to do here is share my screen. I'm using After Effects 2025. So in this case, I've got two shots. Here is the opening shot. Let me drag that. I made sure that the height was such that as you approach that bench, it always stays neutral. In other words, this was very important to me. You never saw above it and you never saw below it. If you look at this chair here, as you can see, as we're getting closer, we're beginning to see more of the top of that chair. And this would cause a little bit of sliding or difficulty. So I tried to make this as neutral as possible. Almost it's what I'm trying to do is pick a point in space where it amounts to a zoom, essentially, because there's no dimensional change in this chair because it starts so far away. If I went further than here, it would have a lot of dimensional change, and then you'd wind up with some issues. So at this point, I'm going to track this motion. And a good way to track the motion is to have the computer work in full resolution. That gives the system a lot of detail to sense things. So by highlighting that, I'm going to go to animation and I'll go down to track camera. And it starts analyzing things immediately, which is kind of strange. You don't have a start button. But I want to make sure that this is a fixed angle of view, and it was. I didn't use a zoom lens. I just used a 35 millimeter or whatever the focal length was, fixed focal length. We do want 3D solved. We want to render track points, and we'll want to enlarge them quite a bit so you can see them when they eventually appear. Now you can see the progress of the tracking because you see it's telling you about how it's thinking. And once it hits that threshold, it starts to solve for the camera. And then you get all of these little points here. Let me make those points a little larger, because then what you can do, there we are. The show layer controls was off, and that's why I wasn't seeing this bullseye. But the bullseye is coordinating all these different points together until it finds a flat plane. And what I'm looking for is that right there, a flat-on bullseye, and that happens to coincide with roughly the position of where that chair is. So then I will right-click and create a null and camera. So the null is a little thing that is stuck in the middle of that. It's kind of hard to see if we go from viewing the active camera to. So here we have our camera, and it's created a camera that's essentially mimicking what the virtual camera did on the set. This bunch of little controls is where the null is, and you can see it's keeping up with the tracking. So with all of this tracking done and the data that's in there, what we're going to do is bring in my image, and I'll bring that right on top of the camera here. And I'll just talk about how this was shot. Now, you'll think that this is kind of peculiar because I didn't shoot myself moving. It's a locked off shot. So basically, I locked it off and placed it at the right point where I would look proper with the starting of the dolly in. And I did that with a switcher on the camera. The green screen is lit evenly on either side with two Kino flows. Can't see the other Kino flow here. And then I've got lighting that's off screen that's essentially mimicking the lighting that's inside the subway, which is essentially very soft ambient light from above. So what we're going to do here is I'll first pull a quick green screen. And what we need to do is turn my layer into a 3D layer. Because as soon as I made the tracker camera is working in 3D space. As you can tell by this, the track null has this little symbol here, and the tracker camera has that little symbol, which means that it is in 3D space. Now, if you just open up my transform and take a look at it, you'll see that for position, I just have up, down, and side to side. So that means that that's a 2D image. So I'm not really going to be able to keep up with the tracker if I only have two ways to go. So I'm going to click this checkbox that is underneath this cube symbol. And if you can't find the cube symbol, go down here and keep checking on these things because they will open up things that are hidden. So I'm just going to check on that and I'll turn into a 3D character here. And I'm going to just scale. See, now my scale and my positions, they work in 3 dimensions. There are 3 factors in here. I'm just going to make myself just a little bit smaller, I think. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'll go to Parent and Link, and I'm going to say, okay, Mr. Sawicki, you're going to do whatever track null says. So by doing this, I'm sticking this 2-dimensional character onto the track null, which was essentially that bullseye target that we had made earlier. It took a bit of futzing, but I was able to get the scale and the position and moving the anchor point about of the track null until we got a sufficient track here. Now, the one thing that will help making this much more real, if I open this up a little bit and I turn off the view of my character, you can see that I'm actually behind a pole, or I should be, this pole right here. So I'm going to handle that straight away. So I'm going to select the background and I'm going to duplicate this. And then I'm going to take the duplicate and drag it on top of everything. So when I do that, you see that we have these tracking targets I'm going to eliminate. You can see that this is hiding everything, but I do see this pole very, very clearly. So what I'm going to do is make a mask using that pole. Here I've got, and then I'm going to see that I've made this mask. And right now it's an add, but I turn that into subtract. And I turn on Sawicki. Then you'll see that that pole is now hiding me appropriately. So if I turn off the show layer controls, you can see that now I am hidden behind that pole as it should be. So it's hiding my leg and everything else. Now, the thing that we have to do, since I've drawn this mask, is to have it track too. So we're going to have to animate its position. So let me go ahead and show the view of the mask. Right there, it's pretty much aligned. And then we'll go to the mask and we'll be animating the mask path. And you click on this little stopwatch and it makes a keyframe where that mask is on frame 1. And we'll go a little bit forward here. And we see that it's still holding together pretty much. But here it starts to drift a little bit. So here, what we'll do is we will click on this selection tool here. And I'm going to draw a box around one of those corners, and this will enable me to reshape the mask a little bit so that it'll keep up with itself. So there we go. And it's made another keyframe, and you can see that it's subtly changing. Let me go a little bit further. So at this point, it has to reveal more of me. So I think I'm going to just open this up a little bit more. And grab this and put it right up against the edge of that pipe. It's made another keyframe, so you can see that it's keeping up with that pipe. And then you can see that that's how this particular shot was accomplished. So this is how the shot appears in the final element. So you can see that this post here is going in front of my body, and it works well, but it's not without its trickiness. I mean, I kind of hit a sweet spot here, but in certain situations it will fail. Shot here that has the balcony. At first glance, it sort of kind of works, but if you look at my feet, I'm sliding. That's because there's a great amount of change that's happening in that floor as we're going forward. You have to remember that if you're going to have feet sticking to the floor, your precision has to be within half a pixel, which is pretty demanding. Now, a shot like this can work, and a great workaround to that is if you put something in front of the figure's feet. Like if I started out here, then who's to know, right? You get that impression. Or it might work for just the beginning of the shot, before the perspective starts changing drastically. So that's pretty much how you can post track a person into your virtual set.